right, guys. Hey, welcome to Man Talk. My name is Vince Miller. We're good. It's great to be back with you again. I'm your host. Again, this is just men talking, and I got a bunch of men with me today. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Good. So I got Paul, Tony, and David, all here at Trout Lake Camp. You having a good time?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Is it
So
good? Okay. Yeah, very good. Best part, Tony. What has it been so far?
Listening to your
Oh, really?
messages.
Oh, great. Well, God's
Right
speaking,
here,
right?
yep.
Yeah, God's speaking, and that's what we love. We love to hear God speaking. Anyway, we're continuing in the last lesson in our series on 30 virtues that build a man, and hopefully you got your book. We're just trying to model what it looks like for men to have real conversations about life. That's all it is. And this very last lesson is on delegation. We don't have a problem with that, do we?
Of course not.
Yeah, we never do. I really believe that for us to be successful men in life, that we got to pass things on, right? We got to be able to successfully pass things on. If we can't figure out a way to do that, life's going to be a challenge, right? Can you think of someone who's passed something on to you guys in your own life? You think of a name right now? Someone that's influenced you? Who was it, Paul?
Lady by the name of Marilyn Reedy.
Okay.
She was actually a mentor of mine when I was in high school.
Really?
And she was she had been with Jews for Jesus for years, and she actually had worked up here at Trout. She worked with InterVarsity Christian Fellowship heavily.
Yeah.
But she was one who...
That's interesting. I worked for InterVarsity too.
Did you
So
really?
I was a staff director for InterVarsity.
You and I will talk about that.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
good stuff, man.
So Marilyn influenced you.
Yeah, Marilyn was also a lot of from a biblical perspective of how to think.
Yeah.
Okay, and there was a lot of that of back up, don't deal with the emotion. What is actually happening? How does this actually fit into the Bible?
Yeah.
How does this influence this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And doing that with a 16-year-old guy who can't figure out how to walk around in his own body.
Well, when you're 6'5", I mean, come on, at 16 years old, right? Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's great. So Marilyn really influenced you, and you remember her first and last name?
Oh yeah, we're still very good friends.
You are still good friends today. So I think that's profound, right? Like we have these people that have passed on wisdom to us, right? It's very significant. So you guys probably have heard a quote like this before, but I think John Wooden was a genius, a simple genius, right? He would say things as a coach to his team that I thought was at times very, very deep, but so simple it made you feel stupid, okay? So he had one of these quotes, and here's one of them. Everything you've learned from someone else.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a great quote, right? And it's true, and it's true of delegation, right? That's great understanding of what it looks like to pass on to the next person or the next generation something that God has given you to them. Do you think that we do this well, though? Are we good at delegating? Okay, you're saying no right away, Tony. We're not good at it. Are you good at it?
No, I'm just speaking personally. I'm not good at it.
Why do you think we're not good at it, man?
I don't know if it's a control issue or what. It seems when I usually try to have somebody else do it, it doesn't turn out.
Okay, there you go. That is true, isn't it? I think it is probably a control issue a little bit, but we want things to work out exactly the way that we want them to work out, right? So we hold on to that process or that thing or that idea because we know someone can't do it better than us. How arrogant of us. Man, you are really smart, we've really got this whole thing figured out, but it's true. We've actually probably tried that before and failed, right? Have you passed something on to somebody else, hoping that they would do it the way that you would hope they would do it?
Yes.
And then they totally screwed it? Yeah, you've had that experience?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
What's that like?
It's incredibly frustrating because it gives me insight to where I need to grow.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Absolutely, because I think a lot of times it's very natural and normal for me to project the issue onto somebody else. Okay?
Yeah.
And there's this wonderful story you might recall of somebody setting some fireworks on a table.
Oh, yeah.
And
That was me, by the way, so just so you know.
But that was a great illustration of the natural propensity I have as a man when something goes wrong. If I'm teaching my son and he does something wrong, now my son is 4, so we got to be gracious here, okay? But if I'm trying to teach a colleague something,
Right.
and he doesn't do it the way that I've instructed him, my first thing is, why didn't you do it the way I taught you? Rather than going, is there a better way for me to teach you so you actually understand
There you
what I'm
go.
trying to communicate?
That's right. I can see you responding to that, Paul. Have you ever been micromanaged in a way that makes you uncomfortable? There's some wounds. I can already feel them. There's wounds coming right here.
Yes.
One of the worst, I work in IT, and
Oh, yeah.
the bane of existence is a micromanager. Okay,
Yeah.
it's especially if they, me being the most intelligent human being on the face of the earth, that they don't know much, as much as I do, and why are you telling me what to do? So there's actually two sides of that. There's the side of me putting my pride in check and saying, okay, let me listen to what this person is telling me, because they may have a perspective that I do not understand, and I might need to learn something here.
Yeah.
So
And the
good.
reverse is when I delegate to somebody else, rather than automatically figuring out, okay, where am I going to put the broom in the dustpan to clean up after this guy? Let go of the result. Because if you don't let go of the result, how will they learn?
That is so good. I love that you see both sides of the equation. And I love that you work in IT, because we need guys like you. But you're able to see this problem so clearly, right? Like, it has something to do with us, right? Receiving the feedback that we need. But it also has something to do with how we're passing those things on. And what does it look like to successfully do that? When we're trying to delegate things, right? When we're trying to delegate things and hand them off, there's going to be a level of non-success. I mean, people are going to screw things up, right? I don't ever get anything right the very first time. If I did, I would basically be Jesus. I mean, I wouldn't need any help. I wouldn't need to have someone delegate something to me. But I wonder if the reason why we sometimes don't delegate is that we're impatient. And we don't like the results.
You know, Vince, on this, I think people really don't recognize how unnatural it is to let things go and to be a servant leader. See, in today, I see a lot of managers or high execs or what have you, kind of the status quo is, I need to control something, I need to possess something in order to be valuable or important. And the Lord says it's very opposite. If you want to be the greatest, you need to become the least. You need to serve. And so you see this micromanagement issue rampant because people, in order for them to feel important, appreciated, or valued, they need to have it and bark orders or what have you. And so this is very counterintuitive to, especially, I think, the human or the man experience.
Okay, so let me add something to that, and you tell me if I'm close. But I think that there's part of this equation when you're describing that moment right there, that we wrap our identity
There it is.
into that thing.
There it is.
And because it risks our identity, then we're threatened by that moment if it doesn't get delegated the right way.
That's
Close?
great. Oh,
Is that close?
I think that's spot on.
And then the servant leadership piece is kind of the release of our identity, right? And saying, you know what, I'm going to leave the results up to, and us as Christian men can say, God, right? We can leave the results up to God and say, we're going to pass it on. That's what I love about the text today in Exodus chapter 18. I mean, this is a moment where Moses is passing on the baton to someone else. And it's pretty significant. And Moses knows that he's got to delegate. He's got to give some things away. In fact, Jesus lived the very same way. Jesus understood that his life had a time span to it and understood that he was going to have to successfully delegate things to 12 men in hopes that they would carry on the mission, well, without him, but yet with him, and capturing the essence of the character needed to accomplish that task. I think that that's what you're getting at with that servant leader piece, is there's the character needed to be able to successfully delegate, and it's multifaceted. It's character that says I'm receptive to feedback, right? Like you're talking about, Paul. It's character that says I'm willing to let go the results to other people. It's character that says, well, things aren't going to get done my way, right, Tony? Yes. Not always. And it is character that says that, like, look, my identity is not wrapped up in this thing, and because of that, I'm going to allow God to engage in this process. And it may threaten my identity, but I'm okay with that. That's right. Because I will always be God's man. Man, if we could live in that space, that would be great. Fantastic. But it's really hard. And Moses here in this moment is trying to own everything, right? You know the moment his father-in-law comes in, Jethro says, why are you trying to do everything, right? But Moses' identity and his responsibility factor was so high, he didn't want any of these ridiculous people, right, that couldn't follow God to screw up the process. But he had to learn to hand it off, and Jethro was right. He had to hand some things off so he could get about the business of leading. And he was exhausted at the end of the day, right, because he was trying to do too much. Have you ever been exhausted at the end of the day because you tried to do too much?
Every day.
Every day. This guy right here is confessing he's got a real problem with this. But it's true. Every day we own it so much, and we probably need to release it. I mean, what wisdom do you think guys need to hear to begin this process of delegation? What do we need to do to take the first step? What do you think?
I think Frozen said it all.
What's that?
The movie Frozen said it all.
Okay.
Let
Give
it
us
go.
let go.
Let it go.
Let go.
I think there's a piece before that, because what Moses did is he picked who he was going to delegate to. So there's a part of that you are already investing in individuals before you delegate.
Yeah.
And you're getting your, you know, I forget what they refer. It was David who had the mighty men, but it's your likely suspects.
Yes.
Who, you know, that basically you have invested in before, and then you start handing off.
Yeah.
And you be okay if it blows up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you go back, you review what happened. How could we do it better?
Yeah.
What do you need more from me?
Yeah.
How could we do this differently?
Yeah. And you know, I really don't you think that that's the process we don't like as leaders sometimes, especially as men, is we have to face the fact that, yeah, we're going to be exhausted if we don't hand it off. Yes. But it's also exhausting to think of what it's going to look like to effectively equip the people we're handing it off to. Yes. But that is the unique call of being a man of God, I believe, is to say, we got to step up, we've got to lead, we've got to do the hard work. And that's what I love about Jesus. I don't think Jesus ever second-guessed the fact that he is going to have to select 12 men to pass on his legacy to. Yes. He knew the day that he began his earthly ministry that that's the first thing he did. I mean, it's remarkable. It isn't the last thing he did. It wasn't an afterthought. He didn't accidentally disciple men and delegate to them. It was the very first thing he did, was call men very close to him to follow him and to watch his ways for a couple of years before he died. Never an afterthought, because that's what a great man does, is he figures out ways to delegate and to pass it on. Because like John Wooden said, everything I've learned, I have learned from someone else. It's a genius comment, you really think of it, but it's true. Everything that we've learned in life, we've learned from someone else, and God wants us to pass that on. I think that's where the genius of being an evangelical comes in, right? We are called to share God's message with the world. So guys, I want to encourage you to do the same. Share God's message with the world in this last lesson. This is so important. And the time that we've invested here, right, helps us to be smarter, hopefully, on the other side. And maybe, Tony, we learn to delegate a little bit more, right? That's a challenge for you. I'll be checking in with you, see if the load gets a little bit lighter. It may be heavy for a short season, but it gets lighter in the long term. And eventually, we can let go of things. And so, guys, I just want to keep encouraging you and challenging you. Thanks for being with us in the series on 30 Virtues That Build a Man. And I'll see you right back here next time on another edition of Man Talk. Thanks, guys.